been a while since I've done one of these. One Punch Man 164 Redraw the abominable fist that's turned against God. So, why no reaction? Because I'm an idiot. I saw that there were redraws, so I was like, cool, I'll skim through all the raws. I went for the raws, and then I saw things that I didn't think would be there, so none of that, but there's things to talk about, so let's talk about them. So all I'm going to do quickly is just skim over the slight changes that happened at the beginning, and then I'll start talking about the stuff that they added on. I like the panel where Garou grows the 2 extra arms more in this one. The silhouette looks cooler than the sun shift. I think that looks monstrous. I like it. I also like Saitama just batting everything away with one hand. He's like, get this out of here, are we done? Garou's thoughts make sense on how he feels like he's crumbling, because I guess he's never really had a proper amount of praise before. Like, he's always just seen himself as the monster, so for him doing good things and actually getting praise and people being genuinely grateful for it, like, it makes sense why his resolve could crumble so quickly, because he never properly tried out the other side. Like, he had some bad experiences as a kid, but as an adult, he never saw, like, you know, people change and mature and grow. So, I think it makes sense why he's already starting to lose faith in his logic. Which is fair. Bye bye Boros! Boros is gone and I'm okay with that. Or Boros' cousin, or Boris, or whoever. Beast King. I like how the consecutive normal punches look more now too. Like, I like consecutive normal punches a lot, but to see, like, last time it was done more like as a gradual kind of force that was driving up. It's going like boom, 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 and then like it was like starting to spiral and back out. I like how it's almost like a shotgun effect. So like it's like boom, 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 and then immediately Garou goes and just starts flying out. I think that looks better. Also, an interesting choice was to change how the panel of where he goes, like, as when Garou crashes down after punching through the mountains, Saitama lands, because we see it, like, the first time they did the redraw, we see it from Saitama's perspective, like, how we know Saitama, and Saitama's just like, we done yet? Like, are we done here? Like, he's ready to call it quits, like, look, we don't have to fight anymore, it's done. But we see from Garou's perspective, like, not necessarily serious Saitama, but, like, faceless Saitama. Not like the first Saitama looks like the Saitama we know, who's generally just, like, you know, quite chill, quite friendly. This Saitama is like a force. He's like this, you know, as he describes, an unfair, what does he say? Yeah, the embodiment of unfairness, which isn't actually too wrong to describe Saitama, because Saitama's whole thing, like, life's like, he might seem the embodiment of unfairness to him, but to Saitama, like, he is himself the embodiment of unfairness. He works so hard for his goal and it's not paying off. Like, his life's not turning out I want it to be. Pretty unfair. So it's not necessarily that bad of a title for Saitama, the embodiment of unfairness. Something I don't really get though, and like, well, it's something One Punch Man does is redraws, and I do wonder what causes the redraws. Because, like, sometimes, because we've had plenty in the past, and it's not like I'm bothered by redraws, really, but there's always just this thought, like, especially with this one, because of how different this fight's going to be now, because we've gone from having a bit, like, you know, a conversation I was quite looking forward to between Saitama and Garou, like, sitting down, talking about things. I love that end panel, it's super good. But now, it seems like we're going for another crazy fight, which I'm also very excited about. I do want to know what causes this, though. Like, is it like when Murata does it, does one go like, this would be better though, really? Or is it like Outlash? Because I know some people weren't too happy with the change, so Murata might be like, right, okay guys, I'm going to change it up now. I don't know what it is. I genuinely don't know what causes these redraws. I'd be fascinated to know, without webcomic spoiling, if anyone knows why, then I'd super appreciate that. Something I did really like was for Garou. Like, I really like the old stuff of, like, kind of Garou having to acknowledge that, you know, I can't beat him. But at the same time, like this, where he's, instead of him being like, this guy's unconquerable, he calls him the embodiment of unfairness. And to compare, he sees him as, I think his name's Arkun. I think I might be wrong on that. He didn't have like a fancy name, but like Garou's childhood bully, you know, the guy who bullied Garou and basically made Garou really look at life the way he does now. And like, that's how Saitama sees him. Like, he doesn't see, like, we don't see his eyes anymore, we see the blurred face, like, and I think that comparison is pretty good there too. I think that looks very nice. Goes to the punch. Saitama not only punches him, right, as he does, because he's One Punch Man, like, he punches him so hard, he knocks him out the cosplay, he knocks him back into human form, he genuinely shatters this man's dreams. This man wants to be a great monster. He punches him so hard that he just breaks apart, and like, as like he's thinking about everything going on, like as he gets knocked out, it's knocking him out of his monsterification. He's knocked him. It's powerful, it's good, I get what they're going for that. Like, Saitama doesn't care. Like, it's just like nothing to him, you know. But of course, this is what you really want me to talk about. I can hear you. So, we see that the other heroes are safe as well. It's nothing big there. I think it's more just to put into perspective for the later scene so we can kind of get, like, from two viewpoints what goes on and really kind of... Well, it's immense to us, especially everything that goes on with God, right? So, I can hear you. God staring over the moon very clearly in shot. We know this. Sorry, I've got the chapter up there. One thing I do like about this next sequence of events is the moon, because as we know, we've always kind of associated God with the moon. What I do like is the more power that God exerts, the more it kind of looks like an eye. So, like, obviously we've always like, oh, it looks like an eye looking down, but, like, you look at those panels with, like, the massive, like, clouds circling, the massive thunderstorms, and that is no longer, like, you don't see the detail of the moon, you just see the basic details, an eye. That's all we're seeing at this point. This is God fully kind of starting to come into his own, exerting his own power, or their own power, even. And, of course, we get the brilliant shot, the brilliant fake-out shot of... You know, the feet, the big stepper himself is here, you know? Like, when I read this, because I was skimming through the rules, right? I was like, okay, whatever, okay, just like have a little nose. Then I was like, if you want a summary of what my reaction was to this chapter, it was like, what the fuck? Like Jenny freaking out because I didn't even see the last few pages until this morning when I read it. But, like, this is what I mean, it's just, it's crazy, because, like, you see that initial reaction, it fakes us out because we think everyone can see this, but then no one can see this. We're the only ones who are seeing this from, like, the feet coming through the storm, and I don't know if there's, like, multiple storms being created where, like, wherever God steps, that's where the footprints are, like, because, like, there's, if you look at, like, the page after, like, the initial footsteps, there seems to be another one back there, so it's, like, God approaching Garou, you know, like, fuck. Oh boy, this was cool. But then of course we get to the perspective of, we see what they all see. They're like, whoa, where did that storm come from? Or, oh, where? And Saitama himself is like, oh wow, weird thunderstorm, what's going on? Like, no one can see what we're seeing. How, like, so many questions about how God works, because, like, Garou can see God because God's reaching out to Garou, right? Makes sense. But, like, these other powers happening, some, like, is it to do with the cubes? Is that where the cubes come in? Like, but Saitama's had contact with the cubes before, and he can't see God now. Right, did Saitama touch the cube? But he saw the inside, right? No, he didn't. Saitama did see the inside, it was hollow. When they went to the big hole, we saw God, like, having a little, power nap in a, you know. But, so many questions, like, how does God work? I'm dead curious to see how they're going to sort this out, because currently, this is generally an opponent Saitama can't fight, because Saitama doesn't really know about God and can't really see them. I mean, maybe this is someone guys he's about to fight, we'll find out. And as it goes on, you know, I had, like, so many beautiful panels, like, as, like, Garou is basically falling in slow motion, losing his monster side, God approaching him, and he's trying to, like, reason with him. He's like, you know, he's doing what he did to Tatsumaki, but it actually works, right? And I was trying to look at this, because something we've said for a while is how God really goes after people at their lowest point. You know, that's when he can get through to them. So that's when he got through to Homeless. Homeless was about to kill himself, and that's when God showed his face and was like, listen, you know, there's more to life than this. Basically, humans are a plague. He tried it with Tatsumaki, he did it with Psychos. Psychos, all her hard work was about to come to an end, and that's when God reached out to her. And then, of course, with Tatsumaki as well. And the difference between them is, I guess, like, how low their point is. So, like, Hope was about to kill himself. Psychos was obviously, like, all her plans about the Monster Association were about to fail, and Garou now too, his, like, lifelong desire is coming to an end. Like, these are very low points of people that have been working so hard towards, right? So the reason I think it didn't work necessarily on Tatsumaki, apart from her just being, like, you know, morally sound, like, of course you remember Blast's words, and that really saved her, and she was like, who are you? Like, she wasn't like, oh, Blast, it's you again. Like, she recognized it wasn't Blast, and also because that wasn't necessarily her lowest point too. So when we're talking about low points of characters, obviously, like I said, those three were at their very lowest in terms of life-altering or life-ending decisions, you know? So for Tatsumaki though, hers was, she couldn't keep fighting. That's not really a low point necessarily for her. If the situation was slightly different, and maybe, like, you know, she couldn't keep fighting, but Fubuki was about to be killed by a monster, that might be a situation where Tatsumaki would have accepted God's offer and would have fallen for it, but not today. Thank God for that. Because initially as well, Garou isn't even really taking the bait. Like, he's like, your greatest wish, you know? He's like, your greatest wish, your plans will nearly come to fruition. They will stop by a single hero. Of course Garou's like, shut up. You want to get yourself killed? Like, Garou, and this is what's, I guess, crazy about God, is Garou has never really asked for help for anything. Like, you know, I guess, like, not necessarily true, because, like, Torio, you know, Torio's kind of helped him out a bit too, and I'm thinking of, like, the A-class fighters, like, let me borrow the book, but, like, you know, never truly, like, relied on others for strength. His strength he's earned through himself alone. He's worked hard, you know, he got the foundations from Bang, of course, but, like, you know, everything else has been about him. So, when we get to this point where he's, like, at his lowest, and he needs guidance, of course he's going to take guidance from Bang. Of course he's going to take guidance from Bang. It makes sense, because, like, Bang is, like, he cares about Bang still. Like, we know this. Like, obviously their whole fight was kind of about their relationship too, and, like, obviously Garou, like, bring Garou to his senses, and literally when he comes back to his senses, his first words are, "Oh man, oh geese," you know, he thinks of Bang. Like, he, you know, Bang basically built him up, you know, turned him into the man he is today. So of course he's going to take the bait when God's like pretending to be Bang and saying, like, listen. Of course, what kind of master would leave his disciple on his own? Don't see the face. Garou accepts the offer in that beautiful panel of Garou just like twists it, and then you see like the spherical God form there. One thing I do really like about this though is like just the background, the toning I think it is of the panels. So a lot of the time in this fight it was kind of grey, because we are like at night time, so I guess at this point it would probably be like, we haven't got like a time scale or anything, but considering where the fight is, this would probably have to be like coming up to sunrise, right? Which is good, because like you look at that, like in the arcs and they've done the fights and they've done, and then it just goes black, right? The panels go black because God's on the move, you know? Just when you thought it was over, no, midnight, pitch black, we're here again. God's here, he's gonna mess stuff up. Or is he? I don't know! Saitama, something's coming. Yeah. So Garou comes back, and Saitama is just incredible. Quick costume change, I love the squint, but it caught me so off guard when we saw Cosmic Fear Garou for the first time. Like, the space, like, I don't know if like the you know, the positioning of those of the galaxies was intentional, but if you look at his face on that, it's got like one eye there and like a galaxy, almost like a smirk. So God, maybe that's like God smirking because he's like, I'm out, I've done it. Not out, but like, you know, I've got like, it doesn't need Homeless. Homeless was a regular guy. We'll talk about that in a sec, because, well, let's talk about it right now, because you're talking about God, Cosmic Fear Garou. What? Okay, something One Punch Man likes to do is build up its villains and make you go, oh, is this the guy that's going to be a challenge for Saitama? And we haven't had that feeling in a while. So I feel like throughout the arcs, especially C-Class Saga, we had that. So Carnage Kabuto, Deep Sea King, Boros, just a gradual kind of threats. Well, maybe not Deep Sea King, but you know what I mean. People who are like, oh damn, is this guy going to be a problem for Saitama? And like Suiryu as well, actually, when Saitama was obviously like, you know, you're different, I can tell this. So things that make you go, oh wow, is this guy going to be different for Saitama? But we haven't had that feeling in a while, or at least I haven't had that feeling in a while. Until now, we know what Garou could do beforehand, right? We know what the capabilities of God, what God could do. We know this. We've seen what he did to Homeless, a regular guy, to a dragon level threat within, what, a month was it? Like, no time at all. He has got his hands on Garou. Garou, who single-handedly has taken down multiple dragons on his own, right? Like, well, I mean, you could argue, but not the point. You know what the point I'm making. And God is there, boosted that power even further. Like, there were already debates, like, between me and the other people on the podcast, like, oh, who's stronger, Boros and Garou? Like, to me now, there really can't be a person stronger than Garou. Like, to get the boost from God on top of that, I'm like, we don't even know what this is. Is this Garou, like, kind of like, is this Garou and God? Like, Saitama talks about, like, oh, it's like, oh, it sounds like he's in a bathroom, so maybe, like, there's an echo effect, so maybe it's got to be God possessing Garou, right? So is this Saitama versus God? Are we getting Saitama versus God? Maybe. Maybe we are, I don't know. We have to see how this goes, because it's like the only thing that's stronger than the Honorable Fist that turns against God is the fist for God, you know, is God's fist itself. It's the fist of God even. Love that panel. Garou just kind of like super creepy, super possessed. And he takes the stance. He takes the classic Bang and Garou stance of the water stream rock crushing fist. He goes foof. He goes foof. And oh, that last panel of Cosmic Fear, Awaken Garou is something. So my stance in this fight was like, because it was wrapping up last time. Like before reading this, right, we've had 8 years building up to this battle, right, of Saitama versus Garou. And we've never really got a solid, you know, like when this fight was coming to an end, I was like, okay, that was fine. I was like, look, it's nowhere near the best that One Punch Man's given us, but it was fine, it was solid. But going into this, before it started, I was like, this is generally going to be one of the best battles I've ever read. Like, they built it up so much. We've got the greatness of Murata's art. They can't drop this now. And I thought they kind of did, is the honest answer. Like, I was happy with what we got, but like, I was expecting more. This is the more I needed from this battle. So I'm ready to see what goes on next, because like, by all means, like, here's the question: does Saitama struggle? I don't think so, because we're already coming to the end of the B-Class saga, and it's called One Punch Man, so I don't think Saitama's actually going to struggle, but this is almost like Saitama and God's first real interaction, right? I'm crazy excited to see what's going to happen. Like, how is this fight going to go down? Is Saitama going to have to start being like, uh-oh, because Saitama's even used, like, any of his serious series against him. Like, nothing he has used has really been like, Saitama's been faced by anything. And like, there hasn't been any comparison to Boros. I feel like there'd be at least a mention of going like, oh wow, you're a bit stronger than that guy I fought on the spaceship, the denominator of the universe, or whatever. Yeah, so we're here. Saitama and Boros. No, we're not here. What do you mean? Boros is dead now. Boros is gone. Bye-bye, Boros. He's gone. Get out of it. Saitama and Garou Part 2. God's got involved. It's crazy. I'm so curious about how this is going to go now, because this is a different beast altogether. This guy is going to be a monster through and through. But what do you guys think? I don't really know what else to say about this. It was good, wasn't it? It was a freak out. I was trying to think about what to say. But what wacky theories do you have? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know, as long as it's not a webcomic spoiler. Please, I do not need those. I'd really appreciate no spoilers. But thank you for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment down below. Leave a like if you like this, and subscribe if you want to see more. Normally I do reactions. This was a kind of a review discussion theory thing, because you know the drill. Okay, bye.